Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to today's edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called What's a Luxury Warship, written by FarmWitch4275. The Emperor was not expecting much. He sat on his glorious, movable throne in the very austere station, waiting for the arrival of our hired escort, the Terrans. This was one of the most important operations that we could have started, the single largest diplomatic mission in 2,000 years of galactic history, and the humans were the ones chosen as the neutral ground for the task. The objective was to gather together in one place, arrange a coalition, and deal with the galaxy's problems once and for all, under the watchful eyes of rapidly expanding Terran coalition. The very same Terran coalition that was responsible for this meeting in the first place. The humans, strange eldritch abominations from the dark sector of the galaxy, a place we had previously thought uninhabited, turned out to be slightly more inhabited than we could have expected, with humans outnumbering the rest of the galaxy 10-1 for some reason. Incoming signature, my Emperor. It matches the Terran's ping commands that they use for long-range comms, our ensign said from his seat. Good. A fair warning to your officers. Terran ships are rather large, the Emperor said and smiled strangely. That quickly became the understatement of the millennium, as the space in front of us warped and swayed, reality becoming distorted and swirling in a terrifying lens into the depths of oblivion. That's all that could be gleaned from the sight, as a massive warship of truly barbaric proportions slowly emerged from the edge of reality in front of us. The largest ship in our fleet was 400 meters long. That bastarding beast of a thing must have been a minimum 1.5 kilometers in length, and at least a third of that in height. And by all gods, the guns on it! It could easily match an entire Imperial fleet, by itself. It was an odd wedge shape, with an elongated bridge, a slit front section, with what were clearly hangars for fighters and drones. The humans referred to it as a Caliban class. We had no idea what that meant, but it was a monster of incredible proportions. We had no idea how the humans even built ships like this, or even why. We had theories, many theories, but no concrete evidence as to how or why. The ship effortlessly slipped into real space. The Terran reality it came through, vanishing into nothing behind it. With more speed and agility than any ship that size and power had right to, it quickly accelerated, and before we knew what to do, it was within spitting distance. This is the Orion's Guild, Caliban class, ready to receive VIP passengers. Security code Epsilon 287, call sign Barracor. Send, the voice came. I reached down and clicked my communicator. It was time for me to do my job. This is Grand Admiral Alexaran of the Imperial Cerunian Navy. Call sign response is Devil Snare. How copy? Hold. Passcode accepted. Sorry I'm late. Ran into traffic. Ready to pick everyone up. Starboard hangars open. As per diplomatic entry, 2 corvettes, 1 destroyer. Don't worry, we have hangar space to spare. We'll be plenty comfy, doors open, beds made, welcome aboard, the voice replied. I looked at my Emperor confused. He took the command, Pilot. We are the destroyer he is talking about. Alari and Kasvai flank speed. Follow us in and listen to the docking system's instructions. Move to the right side and line up next to the hangar openings. The pilot obeyed his orders, with no hesitation, and I felt the ship shudder slightly as our engines fired up. 2 corvettes followed us, and shortly after we were next to the opening of the main hangar. So far, besides the stupid size, the tech was relatively standard, at least as far as I could tell. We phased through the energy barrier, keeping the hangars pressurized, and everything seemed fine, until we saw the interior. Fighters, bombers, even human warships, several of them, hanging from racks in the hangar bay. Each of them, the damn things was armed to the absolute and are large enough to qualify as a ship by itself. It was about now I was suddenly very happy the Terrans were not our enemies. Here is a fun fact. This ship is one of many thousands, and is generally considered small among the humans for its class. This is in fact a small variant of a much larger ship, the Harrower class. I think that's the name of it. The big one is 4 kilometers long, and the biggest ship they have is over 25 kilometers long. Something to think about, the Emperor said, and smirked as the overwhelming sense of dread saturated the air we breathed. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have locked you down in equalized atmospheric conditions for comfortable transport. We know you have many luxury liners to choose from, and we thank you for choosing us. It will be a long 3-day flight to our destination. Tonight's dinner consists of whatever you feel like, in whatever way you feel like it, with a dessert of whatever you think you want. The exits are located to your left and right, but please don't use them. They go into space. In the very unlikely event of an emergency, standard procedure is to put your head between your knees and kiss your bum goodbye. Thank you for flying Caliban Air. Please enjoy your flight," the human voice said over the radio with a chuckle. The Emperor himself smiled and chuckled as well. He looked at us, and we were confused. Humans have a pretty odd sense of humor. That was a joke carried from generations past with fixed-wing passenger craft. You will get used to the jokes soon enough. It's how they cope with their reality, apparently. Now, I was told that they had no time to retrofit this ship to handle us, so I was told our accommodations would be rather austere, and to please excuse it. Everyone except a volunteer skeleton crew is to remain on board. Everyone else filed out, personal belongings only. Travel light and carry your badges and identification cards at all times, the Emperor commanded. By the word of the Emperor, the crews all yelled in response and obeyed their orders without question. I returned to my makeshift quarters alongside the ship's captain and collected a small pack with some personal items. The captain and I both walked out of our ship into the massive hangar. A few hundred humans surrounded the ship, some with weapons and military gear to guard the path. Several humans sat on chairs with tables in front of them and scanned equipment. We were stopped at the tables and made to have our badges and faces scanned. "Sorry about this automated defense network on ship. Have to add you all to the IFF network so that the turrets don't accidentally shoot you," one of the humans said and pointed to a nasty-looking weapon mounted above us. Understandable, I suppose," I replied, and smiled at her. The captain got his badge and face scanned, and we followed the Emperor inside the main corridor. The doors opened, and a few humans rushed about us. Our jaws hit the floor at the sight. A human wandered past us, an officer, judging by his uniform compared to the others nearby. "Sorry there is no red carpet and velvet robes. We didn't have the time," he said with a smile and a salute before heading past us into the hangar. The corridor was pristine, cleaned, and could easily hold an entire company of our warriors within its halls. Doors on either side, everything was labelled with a bright glowing series of signs. Potted plants dotted the hallways, breaking up the metal sheen with greenery. A soft tune of music floated through the air, while chatter from officers and crew mixed with noise, creating an oddly soothing sound. The corridors were well lit, the floors polished and cleaned to an almost obsessive degree, and everything about this place was 10 times what my own officers' quarters aboard our flagship is. The humans called this austere. I wonder what they would consider luxury then, the Emperor asked himself. "Attention on deck," a human at the top of the stairs barked. Every human instantly snapped to a standing position, hands at their chests, heads up, feet together. A human female, a high-ranking officer judging by her uniform and the respect she commanded, walked up to us. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome aboard. My name is Captain Myra, and I am your designated tour guide to help get you up to speed. Before we begin, I have to apologize for the accommodations. We had no time to retrofit the ship to what we consider worthy of royalty, so bear with us while our crews work. I am authorized to show you the ship to an extent bearing sensitive areas and dangerous areas. Where would you like to go first?" she said, beaming a smile at us. We all looked at each other for a few moments. I made the first choice. Can we go see the bridge? I really want to know what it feels like to command one of these behemoths." I couldn't help myself. I was in my blood, after all, and I wanted to know what it felt like to be at the helm. "Certainly, sir. Right this way, please," she said, smiling happily at us. "That is," she yelled, and the humans all instantly resumed whatever it was they were doing. "All ship crews. Jump drive is charged in 15 minutes. 15 minutes to jump. All crew, this is last orders. 15 minutes," the ship's intercom choked, as we filed into a large elevator at the corridor's end. The elevator took us up fast, far too fast, and emitted a whimsical ding as the doors opened. "VIP deck," one of the soldiers yelled. Those not actively engaged in a task or operation snapped to attention and saluted us, then resumed their duties. The bridge itself was a huge room with high ceilings, a very large complex-looking chair at the front mounted high up. Technicians and officers carrying on about their duties within 2 long trenches that flanked the central point. One could see, through an array of shielded windows, the whole front of the absurd beast. The place was just as well decorated as the rest of the ship, as far as I could tell, and resembled more of a throne room than a warship control center. My, impressive," the Emperor remarked as we followed Myra. "Welcome to the bridge, the main command center of our whole shipboard operation. Don't be fooled by the apparent structure. These bridges, exposed as they are the most heavily protected points on the ship for obvious reasons. Even so, there's always a CIC hidden deep in the ship's bowels, where the operators and officers can retreat to if things get hairy," she said. "Ah, now this is something I recognize, a throne. That where your admiral sits?" I asked, pointing at the very large chair above everyone. My answer came by itself as the chair swiveled around and a human, or at least something that resembled a human, glared at us. It was a human sitting up straight in the chair, wires, cables, pipes, and all manner of interesting components disappearing behind him into his spine. He spoke, but his voice was abnormal, terrifying, like 3 humans speaking all at once through a bad microphone. "No, this is the seat by which the pilot controls the ship. The ship is me, I am the ship. The ship is I, the ship is we. And before you ask, no, this is not standard on Terran Navy vessels. We needed to take exceptional measures to guarantee the safety of our guests. You are in no safer hands than we, the Voidborn, blessed be the Eternal One, in service to the Infinite. Judging by your expressions, I say you have questions. Ask them," we said. That was terrifying. What abomination are you? And, are you even human anymore, with so many augmentations?" I said without thinking. I caught myself, hastily backtrack. What I mean to say was, "I know exactly what you meant to say. It is a few and far between those who would know how to respond to meeting one of us for the first time. All you need to know is that sacrifices had to be made to reach the heights we have, to overcome limitations given to us by the Eternal One. Sacrifice is rewarded, as you can see. The universe is my home, my freedom, my hope, my faith. It was easy to make a choice to become one with the machine, and therefore one with the void itself. To make this simpler, I belong to a sect that worships the universe itself as God. Becoming part of the machine is an easy choice when you have God literally everywhere around you. I wish for divine revelation. I merely turn slightly left. Not all of us follow this faith, to be sure, but we are all connected. The ship is as much a temple as it is an extension of my own soul," he said. We stared at him blankly for a moment and wondered what to do when Myra finally broke the awkward silence. "Well, gentlemen, perhaps I can interest you in some food. It's our lunchtime, a midday meal of sorts. Would you care to join me in the cafeteria?" "That, sounds good to me. Please lead the way," the Emperor said. "Once again, I must apologize for the substandard accommodations. I did not have the time to properly retrofit before I was given this assignment. Before we meet with the delegation of Secundus Agraria, you will be transferred to one of my brothers, who is far more acceptable standard of living for your needs. Please bear with it for as long as you can. Oh, and Myra, please tell the chef I would like my usual for lunch, please," he said, giving us a warm, inviting smile. "Yes, sir. Footlong sub with extra mayo?" she asked. He smiled with a nod and turned to face the front of the ship. 5 minutes to jump drive activation. 5 minutes, please. Don't forget to hydrate." Myra directed us back to the elevator, and 9 floors down. Again, the human version of a stew was very different from ours, as we entered a massive dining hall. Monitors mounted on the walls displaying various activities, sports, news, and some random show. I think it was called a sitcom or something. The tables were massive, 10 people to each table. The place operated more like an expensive restaurant than a ship's canteen, and we were led through to a private table nearby where the captains and officers of the other ships were already waiting for us. They all stood up and bowed to the Emperor as he took his seat with them. A youngster, a corporal by his rank insignia, approached wearing an apron and handed us all a book. "The menu, sir. Today's special is meatloaf. Would anybody like something to drink while you decide?" The Emperor smiled. "We will start with some water for drinks, then figure out what we can have with our meal, if you please." The corporal smiled and walked towards the kitchen. We all shared glances and looked closer at the space we were in. This place was the epitome of luxury, despite the human statements to the contrary. Well, he's class 4, judging by these seats," I said, shuffling a bit. "Haven't seen her in my room yet, but I have a feeling it follows the rest of this place. The food smells incredible. That's a high-class stuff there, maybe even more so, knowing human tastes." I sat there thinking aloud, while counting numbers. 2,000 denarii a night at a minimum for a room, at least 400 denar for 2 people per meal. The atmosphere would be an extra 2, maybe 300 denar for a service charge. This place counts as being very, very expensive. If this is what they qualify as substandard, then what the hell kind of ship will they be transferring us to? "That is a good question," the Emperor replied. The voice in the ship's intercom spoke again. "Transit in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wormhole opening. Destination Secundus Agraria." We felt nothing as the ship opened a tear in the fabric of reality and casually wandered through it. There was no change on our end, and we felt nothing, while we very quickly saw on the monitors a beautiful forest world backlit by a grand and glorious blue giant star. We had no idea they even had one in this sector, but I guess that's one of the reasons humans have such a mystique to them. Our water was delivered as we watched out of the window what was happening. The ship moved into orbit of a massive station and slowly docked into a seemingly purpose-built dry dock. The intercom sounded as we started to order food. I personally went for the thing called hamburger, and the Emperor had something called seafood platter. Myra warmly assured us we were only being served what we could actually eat. So there was one hurdle solved, I suppose. "Attention, crew, we are now docked to Casanova Station. You are free to leave the ship for 48 hours. Due to delays in retrofit and diplomatic miscommunication, the Tiberius will only be joining us in 2 days' time. Plenty of time, though, so please make yourself comfortable. To our guests, please remain on board the ship at all times, and do not leave without an escort. Thank you." A few moments later, our meals arrived, and by the unholy matriarch, it was incredible. Even the Emperor himself was flabbergasted at the meal he was given. He was no stranger to fish or seafood. Hell, one of the main staples of our waterlogged world was fish. But whatever these things were was not only fresh, but one of the richest meals that we'd ever eaten. The flavor, the texture, every single bite of my burger was a journey all on its own. I saw a majority of the crew eating similar meals. The Emperor himself regarded his platter as one of the finest meals he had ever eaten. The next 2 days were a blur of activity. I was given access to a command station so I could continue to operate my fleet and coordinate with them to keep our borders occupied. The Emperor was given access to the bowels of the ship and came out looking like he'd seen a ghost. The majority of the other captains just wandered around and found things to find. Turns out this entire ship isn't just a ship. It was the equivalent of a fully equipped, self-sustaining city in space. Every part was made on board from mined asteroid ore. All the fuel was siphoned and refined on board from gas giants. Most of the food was grown on board. Casino, movie theaters, even a small shopping district encompassed the ship's crew decks. Is it why it was so large? Then it arrived. The ship 3 times this one's size appeared in the system. Same general design, but 4.5 kilometers long. It was dotted with various emblems of other empires, and since it got close enough to us, I was able to see inside the hangar Skatani, Imbrakan, Polyarco, and Olivarchian warships docked inside the main hangar side by side. The guns on it were insane, putting this ship to shame 100-fold. I could easily order one of my destroyers to park inside the spinal-mounted cannons. The Emperor and I shared a concerned glance, and made a silent vow to never piss the humans off. The transfer was short and precise. It was a simple matter of undocking with the smaller ship, then getting picked up and parked by the tractor beams of the larger ship. When we got out of the ship and into Tiberius's main hangar, my soul evacuated from its mortal coil, as did the Emperor's. Golden hallways, mirror-shine polished walls with silken banners, and panels decorated with intricately carved bas-reliefs. Pillars holding up seatings as functional decor with intricate carvings of various races in the galaxy. Everyone we could imagine was represented here, even those we never knew even existed. I walked into the corridor and encountered life forms never before seen, empires across the galaxy I never saw before. The humans had been around for a while longer than expected, I guess. The food was 10 times what it was in the smaller ship. The Tiberius's human crew were professional chefs with high-grade ingredients. The ship had so many amenities it was beyond absurd. And the humans classified a floating palatial city to be small warship. This was insane. The luxury didn't stop no matter where we went. Each room, building, structure, all of it, more luxurious than the Emperor's own throne room. Every diplomatic delegation had their own unique species and culture specific to core. But the final straw came from when we had our first real session with our new federal parliament. It was just as absurd as the rest of the ship. As it turned out, the Tiberius wasn't taking us to our destination. The Tiberius was our destination. The humans had built an entire city ship with full galaxy-scale communications to facilitate everything going on with the Federal Assembly. The entire Federal Assembly could easily fit inside the dome structure we now found ourselves in. A huge open space, with windows and everything open to the skies above us, each seat a stable pod that could fly around and move of its own accord about the room. Large screens capturing dozens of camera angles. The first thing that we were treated to was a recording from the Tiberius's pilot. His image appeared on the screen, a gaunt shadow of a man, with many wires and augmentations, sitting on a large fancy-looking chair. He spoke, his voice echoing through the area. "Welcome, fellow delegates, to the First Federal Assembly. We apologize for the somewhat rushed state of things, but our crews are still working hard to make sure the decoration and style of the ship's interior meets the standards befitting your stations. We hope you are satisfied with what you have for the moment, and we will be improving as we go. We hope you enjoy your stay, and hope more than anything you make it as productive as possible. Thank you for your attention. And thank you for a proper path to lasting peace." His image vanished, and we were presumably alone now. It was here I stepped up from the podium, ignoring my Emperor's scowl of disapproval. I pressed a button, our podium lit, and floated gently to the center of the room. I started my speech. We are the Serenai Imperium, lords of the Western Reaches. I am Grand Admiral Alaxtheron of the Imperial Serenian Navy. I would like to be the first to graciously thank our hosts for the work that they have done and the accommodations. I would, however, like to begin the ceremony by calling in our first vote, a vote to cement two things. The first is that we all agree the humans are not to be trifled with, and to leave them the hell alone, because there is no fleet in this universe that can challenge their warships. I really don't want to. The second part of this vote is to officially, publicly, and presently state we all think that humans are absolutely goddamned crazy, primarily because, as far as I know, the humans themselves have no trade deals, no concerns, and have taken up the burden of this whole endeavor at their own expense, with no expectations of reward. Besides that fact, it is not because their ships outclass our entire fleet alone. It is not because of their cybernetically augmented pilots. It is not because of their hideously powerful weaponry. It is because of their hospitality. I've been within royal chambers. I've seen delegations. I have seen royal banquets, and even been invited to noble house weddings across the galaxy for as long as we've known those who can accommodate. I have never, not once, faced such immeasurable luxury as I have seen with what these crazy humans consider to be austere and incomplete. Golden floors, silken tapestries with house and faction banners, almost as if they humans deliberately carved it all into perfection just for the sake of making us feel more at home, so we would be more susceptible to the calming atmosphere. And it worked. I've never felt more like home, despite the fact my floors aren't plated with gold. The food is, as we all know by now, far beyond anything the rest of us can deliver, and I genuinely fear for my soul for the top-class stuff I saw on my way in here. I am voting to call them crazy because, apparently, they think it just isn't enough for us to despite the fact that none of us could ever reasonably or unreasonably justify this level of luxury. Seriously, have any of you sat on the beds in your rooms yet? It feels like floating on a cloud. Therefore, I call for a vote, aye or nay. Humans officially crazy just because of how nice they are, despite the fact that they will get less than nothing from our interactions here. All opposed? I said. The chamber remained silent. All in favor? I asked. The thunderous roar of universal aye rang through the chamber. Motion carried, everyone agrees. You humans are crazy. I call for an end of proceedings so I can sleep on that fluffy bed. Tomorrow we do this again and get to actual business. All in favor? Aye. The resounding chorus echoed again, and everyone quickly vanished from their pods to go enjoy the incredible luxury warship we found ourselves on. End of story. Atharia, 050 Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.